Previously, Tongya uncovered the horrifying truth behind Li Chijing's disappearance and secretly recorded Qingchi Sect's betrayal in the Li clan's hidden history. Now Wangyue Lake is entering a new struggle for power. The rising Yu clan moves to dominate every family around the lake, forcing old alliances to shift and new enemies to reveal themselves. Meanwhile, Tongya hunts powerful demons with Li Xuanfeng, tests the strength of rival cultivators, and begins preparing the Li clan for conflicts that can no longer be avoided. The balance around Wangyue Lake is about to change. Let's continue with Reborn as an Ancient Mirror, Episode 19. Based on his own deductions, Tongya recounted the course of events as he understood them. His reconstruction was almost identical to the truth. The brush in Li Jingqian's hand went limp. She raised her head blankly, fear and panic mingling across her face as she murmured, "Refined into a human pill? Little uncle, this Tongya said nothing. He waited until she wiped away her tears and forced herself to regain control. Only after a long while did he speak in a low voice. That is what happened. Think carefully about how this should be recorded in the clan history. Anything that does not fit must be concealed. The true details cannot appear in the public record. Matters such as how he was recruited and the speed of his cultivation should be adjusted until they appear reasonable. Write it carefully, check every line, leave no loopholes. As for Jinger, record that he was sent deep into the southern border. Do not give anyone reason to become suspicious." "Yes," Li Jingqian answered bitterly, grief weighing heavily in her chest. Only then did Tongya rise. "Write a first draft and bring it to me. For the next few days you need not go out, and do not speak of Jinger's fate to anyone else." With that, he stepped out of the courtyard and rode the wind away. Li Jingqian remained bowed for a long moment. Only the wind howled through the empty courtyard. At last, she raised her head toward the dark clouds overhead, wiped the corners of her eyes, and silently returned inside. When Lu Sisi returned to Mount Huatian, the foot of the mountain was glowing red with celebration. Banquet tables filled the entrance to the village, and waves of festive music drifted through the air. His descendants, brothers and clansmen sat in long rows, eating and drinking without restraint. Lu Sisi did not have many years left. Every day, he was running from place to place, trying to find a path of survival for the Lu clan. Yet the younger generations below were still drinking, singing, and celebrating as though nothing in the world could touch them. The sight made his chest tighten. He descended at the foot of the mountain and immediately saw the Lu clan's chi-refining cultivator, Lu Yuanlu. The young man had a beautiful woman tucked under each arm. He wore brilliant golden robes and had a smug, self-satisfied look on his face. Beneath one foot lay a bloodied man, while Lu Yuanlu raised a wine cup and sang at the top of his lungs. The moment Lu Sisi landed among them, the music slowed. Everyone looked up. When they saw him, disappointment flashed across their faces and they lowered their heads. Lu Yuanlu glanced at him, kicked the servant beneath his foot away, and called loudly, "Ancestor, you've returned at just the right time. Why not drink a few cups with us?" Lu Sisi saw the blatant disrespect in his manner, yet did not become angry. He merely stood in silence, sorrow spreading through his heart. "This child has been impulsive and arrogant since he was young. I certainly won't live many more years. After I am gone, the clan will still have to depend on him. If I embarrass him now, he may remember the humiliation and bear a grudge. Once this old man is dead, there will be no one left to restrain him. For now, I still have to indulge him." He forced a smile onto his aged face. "Drinking is good, good. Let us drink." Seeing this, Lu Yuanlu burst into laughter. The musicians immediately began playing cheerfully once more. Lu Sisi lowered himself into a seat among his descendants. He watched the smiling, laughing faces before him, and an empty ache hollowed out his chest. Grinding his teeth, he thought bitterly, "Sing, go on, sing, drink, enjoy yourselves while you still can. I can only blame myself. When I was young, I became obsessed with secluded cultivation and never properly restrained any of you. I always believed I still had hope of reaching foundation establishment, that I could not waste a single moment, and in the end I raised all of you into a pack of fools." Someone rushed forward with a wine cup, but Lu Sisi waved him aside. He looked up at the sky for a moment. "Who is that?" The festive music continued drifting through the village. 3 streaks of light descended from the heavens and stopped above Mount Huatian. Everyone below stared upward in confusion. Then an enormous icy voice rolled down from the sky. "Lu Sisi, get out here and answer!" Lu Sisi jolted awake from his thoughts. He rode the wind upward and looked toward the 3 figures. At the center stood a young man in brocade robes, eyes half closed, saying nothing. Behind him stood 2 others, one tall, one fat, both staring at Lu Sisi with open hostility. "So it is young Master Yu. This old man failed to welcome you from afar. Forgive me, forgive me. You are Lu Sisi?" Lu Sisi's heart tightened. He hurriedly arranged his face into a flattering smile and bowed, inviting the 3 of them to land on the mountain. The brocade-robed young Master Yu merely gave him a disgusted glance. Our Yu clan has only recently come under Qingchi Sect. We have not had much opportunity to become acquainted with our neighbors. Now, one of our Yu clan disciples has entered Wangyue Peak of Qingchi Sect and established a foothold within the sect. My father wishes to meet the surrounding families as well. I hope the old gentleman will be willing to cooperate. Of course! The bearing of a foundation establishment clan is truly enviable. If the Yu clan has any instructions, then Lu Sisi was badly shaken and hurried to flatter him. Young Master Yu cut him off with an impatient wave. From now on, matters around Wangyue Lake will be decided by my Yu clan. We have already visited every family around the lake, and all have agreed to recognize the Yu clan as their leader. He narrowed his eyes. Does the Lu clan have any objections? We wouldn't dare. We wouldn't dare. The Lu clan will also recognize the Yu clan as leader. We would never harbor divided loyalties. Lu Sisi smiled so broadly his face nearly cramped as he piled on the flattery. At last, young Master Yu's expression softened slightly, revealing a trace of satisfaction. The two men behind him stopped glaring as well, though faint, cold smiles remained on their faces. Good! Young Master Yu laughed. Then his tone abruptly turned cold. Since the Lu clan understands the situation, naturally there must be tribute. I know your Lu clan still has some connections on Moon Lake Peak, so we will not make things difficult for you. Every 5 years, whatever amount your Lu clan pays to Qingchi Sect as tribute, simply prepare an equivalent share for my Yu clan as well. He paused, lowered his gaze, and looked at Lu Sisi's suddenly pale face. There isn't a problem, is there? Lu Sisi stiffened. The ingratiating smile froze on his face. He stammered for a moment and let out a difficult breath. Seeing the two men behind young Master Yu glaring fiercely at him, he could only nod. Young Master is absolutely right. The Lu clan will comply. The moment Lu Sisi answered, young Master Yu smiled and looked at him expectantly. Lu Sisi immediately understood. He took several spirit stones from the pouch at his waist. One of the men behind young Master Yu stepped forward to receive them. Lu Sisi said with a flattering smile, Young Master has traveled all this way personally just to inform our family. These few spirit stones are merely a small token of our sincerity. Young Master Yu swept his sleeve and turned around. In 3 days, the Yu clan will host a banquet for the surrounding families on Lake Center Isle. Old gentlemen, remember to attend. Yes, of course. The 3 young men rode the wind away, leaving Lu Sisi standing alone at the summit of Mount Huachin. He lowered his head in despair and leaned against the stone steps, lips trembling. For a long time, he could not speak. After the 3 members of the Yu clan had flown some distance from Mount Huachin, the fat man behind young Master Yu immediately burst out laughing. Clan brother, this is wonderful. Just from this round alone, each of us can split nearly 10 spirit stones. That's more than the allowance the clan gives us. The tall, thin man on the other side nodded, but his thoughts were elsewhere. His expression turned serious. Eldest brother, the Lu clan has no real momentum left. I looked carefully. Most of those below are old embryonic breath cultivators. They only have one young chi refining cultivator, and that fellow is arrogant and obviously foolish. As for Lu Sisi, he is already near the end of his life. There is no future there. Young Master Yu nodded as well, giving the tall man an approving glance before slapping the fat man on the shoulder. Exactly. The Lu clan is nothing but an empty shell. Then he turned his head slightly. They still retain a little face because of their connection to Moon Lake Peak. Nothing more. There is no need to pay them much attention. That idiot cannot carry the Lu clan on his shoulders. The Lu clan's fortune is already in decline. They won't amount to anything for the next 200 years. As they spoke, the 3 entered Li clan territory. Young Master Yu's expression immediately became solemn. All of you watch yourselves. Once we reach the Li clan's mountain, don't speak carelessly. The Li clan isn't like those other families. Their background runs deep. Do not offend anyone. Isn't it only because of that King Hui sword immortal? The fat man curled his lips in dissatisfaction. Young Master Yu glared at him. Only? Do you even understand what the title Sword Immortal means? Of all artifacts, swords excel most at killing, and he has already comprehended sword intent. In front of him, Father would probably last no more than 10 moves. Even the old ancestor of our clan could likely do little more than protect himself. What's more, Li Chijing reached foundation establishment in his 30s. He has genuine hope of reaching the Purple Mansion realm. If that happens, the Li clan will have a Purple Mansion backer within the sect. At that point, do you think there will still be room for the Yu clan to speak around Wangyue Lake? The tall, thin man observed the land below with more care. King Hui sword immortal. There are quite a lot of people living in Li territory. It seems they govern the area rather well. It doesn't look like much to me. The fat man scanned the landscape and laughed. Just another remote mountain backwater. It can't compare to our Yu clan's lands. Can a place like this really produce a sword immortal? Shut your mouth, young Master Yu flew onward. Before long, a vast formation appeared ahead, transparent golden light glimmering faintly across its surface. He circulated his spiritual power and spoke in a restrained voice. The Yu clan of the Junlin Plains has come to pay a visit. May a senior of the Li clan please come speak with us. His manner was completely different from the crude transmission he had used at the Lu clan. This time, every movement was measured and courteous. The three waited outside the formation for a short while. Soon, a young man carrying a pitch-black longbow on his back rose with the wind and stopped before them. It was Li Xuanfeng. I am Li Xuanfeng of the Li clan of Li Jing. May I ask what important matter brings the three of you here to see our elders? Young Master Yu's entire demeanor changed. His expression became warm and animated, almost friendly. The complete opposite of the arrogant manner he had shown at the Lu clan. He cupped his hands toward Li Xuanfeng. I am Yu Mugao of the Yu clan from the Junlin Plains. Greetings, Brother Xuanfeng. Our Yu clan has a favorable matter we would like to discuss with Senior Tongya. If Brother Xuanfeng would be kind enough to lead us inside, I would be grateful. Li Xuanfeng's spiritual sense swept over the three. One was at the third level of key refining, while the other two were at the second. Neither he nor Li Tongya had anything to fear from such cultivation. His heart eased slightly. Fellow Taoist, it's too polite. Please follow me. He led the three through the formation and seated them in the courtyard. Not long afterward, Li Tongya emerged from his cave dwelling and stepped inside. The moment Yu Mugao saw him, he quickly rose and cupped his hands. I am Yu Mugao, greetings, Senior Tongya. Li Tongya was slightly surprised by the man's courtesy, though nothing showed on his face. Young Master Yu is too polite. The Li Jing Li clan truly deserves its reputation as the family of a sword immortal. I have also heard that Senior Tongya possesses exceptional swordsmanship. Mugao has long admired you. The group exchanged polite compliments for a while before finally moving to the real subject. Yu Mugao smiled. Our Yu clan only entered Qingchi Sect's sphere a few years ago, so at first we did not understand all the customs involved. Now, however, a disciple of our family has entered Yuanwu Peak within Qingchi Sect. My father feels that the families around Wangyue Lake have been far too disorderly. Such valuable land is open to anyone who comes and goes, and disciples from the local families are sometimes killed without anyone taking responsibility. So he intends to gather the families around the lake. With our Yu clan's foundation establishment cultivators taking the lead, we hope to organize the local resources and rebuild the market. Yu Mugao spoke at length. He first displayed the Yu clan's backing, then offered a respectable justification, while subtly emphasizing his family's status. His words were flexible, polished, and unfailingly courteous. Li Tongya listened quietly. It did not take him long to understand. The Yu clan wanted to establish itself as the leader of Wangyue Lake. The Yu clan has two foundation establishment cultivators. Their strength is indeed considerable. If they wish to organize Wangyue Lake, there is nothing inherently unreasonable about it. Their courtesy toward my Li clan is only because of Jing'er. They believe our family is protected by a sword immortal. Jing'er's death should remain hidden for at least several decades. For those decades, his name will be like a protective talisman hanging over the Li clan. Ordinary families will not dare provoke us. Li Tongya nodded. This is naturally a good thing. If the Yu clan is willing to step forward and handle such a matter, the Li clan supports it. Yu Mugao's eyes immediately brightened. Li Tongya paused as if he had more to say, but merely lowered his head and took a sip of tea. Yu Mugao watched him carefully, then he smiled. If the families around Wangyue Lake entrust this matter to the Yu clan, naturally the benefits should also be shared. Once the new market is established, a portion of the profits can certainly be reserved for your esteemed clan. Li Tongya frowned faintly. He set down his teacup. If the Yu clan is to lead the surrounding families, then surely the benefits and tribute your family receives will already be considerable. Yu Mugao's smile stiffened. He laughed awkwardly to conceal the discomfort. Not at all. The other families merely wish to thank the Yu clan for its protection, so they have voluntarily offered us a few gifts. He glanced at Li Tongya and hurriedly added, the Li clan, of course, is different. The Yu clan may take the first seat around Wangyue Lake, but the Li clan would naturally hold the second. My father greatly admires the Qingwei sword immortal. The Yu clan would never harbor improper intentions toward the Li clan. Li Tongya shook his head. There is no need to place the Li clan in some so-called second seat. Our strength is shallow, and even if we sat there, we would not be able to hold it securely. If the Yu clan wishes to rebuild the market, the Li clan supports the effort. As for everything else, there is no need to involve us. With those words from Li Tongya, Yu Mugao considered his mission a complete success. He let out a quiet breath of relief. He had expected the Li clan to be the most difficult family to deal with, yet in the end, they had proved unexpectedly easy. A smile returned to his face. Seeing that Li Tongya was already preparing to send them away, he hurriedly added, In 3 days, the Yu clan will meet with the surrounding families on Lake's Center Isle, the small island in the middle of Wangyue Lake. Senior, I sincerely hope you will honor us with your presence. He offered an invitation card. Li Xuanfeng stepped forward and accepted it. The group exchanged a few more polite words before Yu Mugao finally took his leave. Li Tongya saw the 3 men out, then turned back toward the courtyard. Li Xuanfeng landed outside and shook out his sleeves. The Yu clan was surprisingly courteous. Most of it is probably because of little uncle. Otherwise, they might have come demanding tribute from us as well. Li Tongya did not seem impressed. The Yu clan has strength, but their clan head is too impatient and far too overbearing. The families around Wangyue Lake have occupied their territories for generations. Their relationships are tangled together in every direction. Do you think none of them have ties to the sect? They want to build a market on the lake and at the same time collect tribute from all the surrounding families. What kind of logic is that? The Yu clan has already angered many people by acting so recklessly. He gave a faint smile. Just watch. We will see what kind of ending awaits them. After leaving Mount Lijing, the 3 members of the Yu clan flew above Wangyue Lake. Yu Mugao's expression was dark as he rode the wind. The 2 men behind him kept their heads lowered and did not dare speak. Only after they had traveled more than halfway did the tall, thin man finally let out a bitter laugh. Eldest brother, the Li clan clearly doesn't want to become involved. They don't think highly of our family. Yu Mugao snorted. That Li Tongya is indeed cautious. He obviously wants to remain outside the struggle entirely. We cannot force him to do otherwise, so be it. We will simply act as though the Li clan is not among the families around Wangyue Lake and leave them alone. But, the tall man hesitated. The Li clan's territory is full of life. Everything there has the feeling of a family rising into a new age. Li Xuanfeng and Li Tongya are not fools. There is no telling what they may accomplish in the future. If Li Chijing is truly allowed to continue growing, the day may come when we have no choice but to bow our heads and acknowledge the Li clan as our lord. By then, Wangyue Lake could belong to the Li clan alone. That is exactly what worries me. Yu Mugao's expression darkened. After thinking for several breaths, however, he relaxed slightly. Still, there are 2 things to remember. First, breaking through from Foundation Establishment to Purple Mansion is extraordinarily difficult. It is not something that happens merely because one has talent. The southern border is also extremely dangerous. The death rate there is high. Li Chijing may not even survive long enough to reach that point. Second, he has only just reached Foundation Establishment. We still have at least 100 years to prepare. Whether we secure stronger support from Qingchi Sect or unite with other clans in the commandery, there is still time. The tall man nodded repeatedly. Then Yu Mugao abruptly changed the subject. We cannot control Li Chijing, but the Li clan before us is still right beneath our eyes. If an opportunity appears, it would be best to eliminate Li Tongya and Li Xuanfeng quietly, or perhaps guide some disaster toward them from the shadows. Arrange for someone else to block their path. Lure the Li clan into some isolated place and have matters handled discreetly. If anything goes wrong afterward, we can apologize and compensate them. So long as those 2 are removed, we will be able to sleep more peacefully. Eldest brother is right. We should return and ask the clan head how he wishes to proceed. The 3 continued discussing their schemes as they rode the wind northward. While Yu Mugao and his companions plotted in the distance, Li Tongya had already taken Li Xuanfeng deep into Great Li Mountain. According to the information given by the White Banyan Fox, if they traveled several hundred li east along the foot of the mountain, they would find a large, pitch-black cave. White bones lay scattered across the ground before its entrance. A foul, bloody wind rolled outward from within. Li Tongya and Li Xuanfeng descended in front of the cave. The thunderous snoring inside abruptly stopped. Li Tongya swept his spiritual sense through the darkness and smiled. Now that is a large bear. He nodded lightly toward Li Xuanfeng. Li Xuanfeng immediately rose into the air and took position on the summit of the opposite mountain. Only then did Li Tongya draw his sword. With a flick of his wrist, several streams of sword chi shot into the cave like blades of wind. Roar! Li Tongya turned and retreated. A massive creature, more than a zhang tall, charged out of the cave, its enormous body seeming to block the sunlight filtering through the forest. Black fur covered its body. Its bloodshot eyes glared furiously. The creature thundered forward several steps and swung one enormous paw toward Li Tongya. The bear demon was at the 5th level of key refining. Each paw was as broad as the chest of 2 men standing side by side. Compared with that massive body, Li Tongya's sword looked almost like a shining needle. Naturally, he did not dare meet such force head-on. He retreated at once. Boom! Li Tongya had only moved several steps when the spot where he had been standing was smashed downward by several inches. The bear's second paw was already sweeping toward him. If that strike landed, even if he survived, he would be grievously injured. Several blossoms of sword chi appeared around Li Tongya as he continued retreating, seemingly unable to find an opening. Yet inwardly he was already thinking, no wonder that fox warned me to be extremely careful. This thing is enormous and vicious. Capturing it alive will not be easy. If I insist on doing so, I may end up injuring myself instead. Better not to hold back. Kill it first, then find a few smaller chi-refining demons and bring those back alive. As he thought, he continued parrying and retreating. Within moments, he had withdrawn more than a dozen paces and released over 10 sword chi attacks. Every one of them was smashed apart by the bear demon's iron-hard paws. The beast was immensely strong, but it was not stupid or clumsy. It understood that Li Tongya's sword ki was dangerous. Whenever possible, it poured spiritual power into both paws and shattered the attacks directly. If the angle was unfavorable, it would rather retreat several steps than allow itself to be wounded. Li Tongya still did not use any true sword art. He merely relied on ordinary sword ki to wear down the bear's strength. Their battle echoed thunderously through the mountains. Trees collapsed one after another. Startled birds circled high above and did not dare return to their nests. On the summit opposite them, Li Xuanfeng had already drawn his bowstring to its limit. A brilliant ring of golden light glowed around the pitch-black longbow. A specially forged King Wu arrow rested against the string. Li Xuanfeng narrowed his eyes. His aura continued to rise, gathering layer after layer until it became increasingly terrifying. The bear demon suddenly sensed danger. A sharp killing intent stabbed into its awareness, making its limbs go numb. It reared upright, fending off Li Tongya's attacks while glancing around suspiciously. Then it turned its head. A streak of golden light came drifting in from the distance. In the next instant, it plunged straight into the giant bear's chest. Roar! The bear demon threw back its head and howled in agony. Li Tongya immediately seized the opening. He raised his sword and sent a crescent-shaped arc of Yuegang sword chi slicing toward the beast's neck. The bear reacted with astonishing speed. One massive paw came up to block. Li Tongya's sword chi had been released in haste and had not accumulated its full power. Instead of severing the limb, it merely carved a deep, bloody wound across the enormous paw. The bear demon forced Li Tongya back with another swipe. Then the violent pain inside its body suddenly subsided. Fear immediately overwhelmed it. It turned and fled, crashing through the forest and trampling trees to the ground. But Li Xuanfeng's second arrow was already there. The arrow entered from behind and buried itself inside the demon's body. The bear collapsed to its knees with a thunderous crash. After only a breath, it forced itself back onto all fours and continued running. Li Tongya's sword chi followed like maggots gnawing into bone, slicing a bloody slab of flesh from the beast's thigh. The bear howled in pain. At last it realized that continuing to flee would only lead to death. With a vicious roar, it turned and swung at Li Tongya. But the gang chi inside its body had already begun interfering with its movements. Its enormous frame had slowed. Li Tongya avoided the paw with ease. Another arrow from Li Xuanfeng arrived. Man and beast fought for a while longer. The gang chi rampaged through the bear demon's internal organs until its entire body finally convulsed. With a heavy thud, it collapsed. Li Tongya immediately retreated to a safe distance. He waited as the demon's life force gradually drained away. Nearly the time it took an incense stick to burn passed before Li Xuanfeng emerged from the nearby forest. Even then, he did not approach. He stared cautiously at the motionless beast. Be extremely careful. Demons can feign death. Do not approach too quickly. I know. Li Tongya nodded. Then his gaze fell on the bow in Li Xuanfeng's hand. Your archery is quite formidable. Are you using the spiritual aperture in your palm to gather power? Yes. Li Xuanfeng cupped his hands. A trace of guilt appeared on his face as he scratched his head. I saw how ferocious this demon was and worried that holding back might allow it to injure you. So I used my full-strength arrows from the start. I only wanted to kill it as quickly as possible. He looked toward the fallen bear. From the look of it, the beast won't survive. That means we cannot use it as a living sacrificial offering. I am truly Li Xuanfeng was only this obedient in front of Li Tongya. He looked at the elder with a nervous expression. Li Tongya merely smiled. It does not matter. We can find another demon in a few days. You and I will go together. The moment he finished speaking, the bear demon suddenly surged upright. Its eyes were blood red. With the last of its strength, it swung a paw at them. Both men slipped aside with ease. The bear collapsed again, blood pouring from its wounds like a spring. This time, it truly seemed to have stopped breathing. Li Tongya had already been accumulating sword chi in his hand. A white blade of light flashed. The bear demon's head was severed. Only then did the two men approach. They quickly processed the corpse, cast spirit-sealing arts over the remains, cut the body into manageable pieces, and carefully stored everything inside storage bags. Even the blood that had spilled onto the ground was buried and concealed. Only after leaving no obvious traces behind did the two ride the wind eastward. Fenger. As they flew, Li Tongya smiled. Your archery is highly refined. You should organize your insights and write them into a manual. Then future descendants of the clan will have another practical art they can learn. He continued. Our family possesses a fair number of techniques now, but most are ordinary methods. They are not particularly useful in true combat. The only genuinely outstanding inheritance is the profound water sword art. Among the surrounding clans, it can be considered respectable. But not everyone has talent for the sword. If you can add another inheritance to the clan, that would naturally be an excellent thing. Writing a manual would not be a problem. Li Xuanfeng nodded. After thinking for several breaths, however, he added, but this bow art is not easy for an ordinary person to cultivate. If one does not possess a spiritual aperture in the hand, then even after many years of practice, it would be extremely difficult to master. Even if someone managed to learn the movements, the power would be greatly reduced because they would not be able to produce the Qingchi. The strongest part of my bow art is precisely that Qingchi. Without it, an arrow would retain less than 1/10 of its true power. So that is how it is. Li Tongya frowned slightly. In the end, he could only shake his head. Then write it down whenever you have the time. Even if few people can cultivate it, leaving the foundation behind for the clan is still worthwhile. Yes. The two descended onto the summit of Mount Li Jing. Li Tongya checked the time. There was still more than a day before the Yu clan's gathering. He took out the bare remains from the storage bag and handed them over. Take these into the commandery and sell them. While you're there, check on our disciples and businesses. Bring back any news. Yes, Li Xuanfeng's expression immediately brightened. He accepted the storage bag, bowed, and hurriedly rode the wind eastward. Li Tongya watched him disappear into the horizon and could not help giving a soft snort of amusement. That child. After Li Xuanfeng's figure vanished completely, Li Tongya stood in silence for several breaths. Then he murmured, Jinger left no descendants. If any of the younger children are born with spiritual apertures, perhaps one should be adopted into his branch and entered under the Xuan generation. At least then, his line will not be completely severed. Li Xuanfeng flew along Guli Road for some time. Having learned from his previous journey, he simply passed over the city walls and descended directly into the town. He was impatient to see the young woman waiting there, but clan affairs still came first. He entered the apothecary operated under the Li clan's name. Inside the shop, a young man was sleeping behind the counter. His head bobbed as he dozed, saliva nearly dripping onto the wood. Li Xuanfeng studied him for a moment. The man seemed to be one of the descendants of his clan uncle Li Yesheng, sent by Li Xuanyuan to oversee the shop in the commandery. Li Xuanfeng gave a cold snort. The young man jerked awake. He rubbed his eyes, looked up, and immediately went pale. Brother Feng, why are you here? Although Li Xuanfeng was younger, he had been a little tyrant among the clan children when they were young. Back then, he had chased them around with a bow until some of them nearly wet themselves. Naturally, this man remembered him well. Despite being older, he still instinctively called him Brother Feng. Li Xuanfeng waved a hand. Go, bring Wan Tianqiu out here. The young man hurried into the rear courtyard and called Wan Tianqiu out. Wan Tianqiu emerged in gray robes. His face had grown much rounder over the years, and almost nothing remained of the boy he had once been. His cultivation had also reached the 3rd level of embryonic breath. He bowed respectfully. Young master, what are your orders? Ever since Li Tongya had destroyed the Ji clan and thrown Ji Dengxi's severed head before him, Wan Tianqiu had laughed and cried at the same time. After that, whatever obsession had once driven him disappeared. He married into the Li clan, took a wife, and never made much progress in cultivation. Unfortunately, his wife was extraordinarily fierce. Unable to endure her temper, Wan Tianqiu eagerly accepted the assignment to manage affairs in the commandery, partly so he could escape her. He had been enjoying his peaceful days there only to run into Li Xuanfeng. Good thing I didn't go out today. If I had missed him, the family's evaluation of me would probably drop again. And if word reached home, that woman would curse me to death. Wan Tianqiu's thoughts raced. Then Li Xuanfeng spoke. When will the market on Guanyun Peak open again? Li Xuanfeng's tone toward Wan Tianqiu was at least reasonably polite. Wan Tianqiu hurriedly answered. Young master, 1 month from now, I understand. Li Xuanfeng nodded. Are the clan's businesses in the commandery running smoothly? Has anyone caused trouble for you? No one. Once the local forces heard these properties belonged to the Li clan, they all backed away. The Xiao clan has also been helping us. Everything has gone very smoothly. Wan Tianqiu reported the important events of the past few days. Only then did Li Xuanfeng nod and leave the two men behind. He departed the apothecary and walked lightly toward a small courtyard. With a smile on his face, he knocked on the door. A clear, lively voice came from inside. Who is it? Me. Li Xuanfeng had barely answered when hurried footsteps came rushing toward the entrance. The door creaked open. Zhang Yunu stood there, her round face bright with delight. At her feet was the wild goose, puffing out its chest and glaring at Li Xuanfeng as if it already considered him an enemy. "Young master!" "Well?" Zhang Yunu threw herself toward him. Li Xuanfeng caught her, glanced at the goose, and laughed helplessly before giving her a brief kiss. "Why haven't you eaten this thing yet?" "It's too lonely living here by myself. Its wing is injured, so it spends all day flapping around without being able to fly. When I was little, my family raised geese. So I decided I might as well keep this one like a goose." She smiled. Li Xuanfeng carried her inside. "Didn't I tell you to buy a few servants? I went to look. They're really expensive. I'm already used to washing clothes and cooking for myself. I'm not some noble young lady. What would I need servants for?" The wild goose strutted after them and tried to peck at Li Xuanfeng's leg. With a casual wave of spiritual power, he pinned the troublesome bird harmlessly to the floor. He laughed. This beast really knows how to hold a grudge. They spent some private time together, away from the worries of the clan and the cultivation world. Later, when the room had grown quiet again, Li Xuanfeng asked, "How have these past few days been?" "Very good." Zhang Yunu gathered her hair and looked at him closely. Li Xuanfeng continued, "I came to the commandery on clan business this time. Once everything is settled, I'll need to enter seclusion. I've been stuck at the first level of qi refining for 2 years. It's time I tried to break through." "How long will it take?" She lowered her head as she asked. Li Xuanfeng reassured her. "A few months if it's quick. A year if it takes longer." Zhang Yunu pressed her lips together and touched his face. His appearance had barely changed at all over the years. Her voice turned lonely. "You're an immortal cultivator. When you cultivate, years pass like nothing. In a few more years, I'll grow older while you'll still look like this. It really isn't fair. 12 years from now, I'll be 28, and maybe you'll have forgotten me by then. What are you thinking about?" Li Xuanfeng pulled her close. "Give it a few more years. We'll have children, and then I'll bring you home. No one will look down on you." At dawn, Li Tongya circulated the river and mountain one key art. A thread of pale white breath left his lips. He ended his cultivation and rose just as the sun climbed into the sky. After checking the time, he strapped his sword to his back and stepped outside. There he happened to meet Li Xuanyuan, granduncle. Li Xuanyuan had grown a beard and looked considerably more mature. He had served as clan head for nearly 10 years now, arranging the affairs of both the main lineage and the branch families in an orderly fashion. He cupped his hands toward Li Tongya. Li Tongya nodded. "I'm going to the lake. Keep watch over the mountain. Do not open the Sunright Mystic Light Formation for anyone who is not part of the family." "I understand." After giving his instructions, Li Tongya rode the wind northward. He crossed the glittering waters of Wangyue Lake and descended onto Lake Center Isle. The area around the island was extremely busy. A large brown ship rested silently on the water. More than a dozen smaller boats trailed behind it. Each one was packed with mortals bound by ropes. Their faces were filthy. They stared blankly toward the sky, terrified to speak. "Number 21!" Someone shouted from the large ship. More than a dozen embryonic breath cultivators appeared at the stern and pressed their hands down. One of the smaller boats immediately rose into the air. The mortals aboard began screaming, crying, and cursing. The cultivators were clearly accustomed to such scenes. Their expressions remained cold as they guided the boat above Lake Center Isle. Then the boat tilted. The mortals spilled out. Below them, the damaged restriction formation flickered into existence. Ripples spread across its surface. Lightning and flame erupted with a deafening roar, exploding into clusters of magical radiance. The screams vanished almost instantly. Blood and severed limbs were hurled high into the air. A rain of blood splashed down around the island, turning the nearby lake water crimson. Fish, shrimp, crabs, and other creatures swarmed beneath the surface, frantically competing for the flesh. "So this is the business that costs nothing," Lu Sisi was talking about. Blood flowed across the damaged formation. Within the formation covering Lake Center Isle lay a wasteland of scorched earth. Once the magical light finally dispersed, one could see a middle-aged man curled on the ground with both hands over his head. His eyes were shut. His body trembled uncontrollably. A huge bloody wound had been torn across his back. Blood dripped steadily from it. Only after a long time did he open his eyes and stare blankly around him. Then he raised his head in disbelief. The middle-aged man broke into a crazed grin. He hurriedly treated the wound on his back, then searched through the ruins for a while. His face grew paler and paler from blood loss. In the end, he bundled several talismans and artifacts inside his clothing and staggered toward the edge of the formation. The cultivator waiting outside noisily took the bundle from him and cursed. "Damn it. These country bumpkins are all slippery bastards. If we weren't afraid the peasants behind them would refuse to cooperate, why would we bother giving them gold at all?" He tossed a pouch of gold toward the wounded man, then grabbed him and threw him onto a boat where several other injured survivors were already lying. "Number 21. Take them away." The small boat carried away the handful of lucky survivors, several of whom were missing arms or legs. The cultivators aboard the larger ships immediately began preparing the next group. Li Tongya silently watched everything happening around Lake Center Isle. After a while, a haggard old man came riding the wind from the east, a jade rui in his hand. It was Lu Sisi. "Brother Tongya." Lu Sisi cupped his hands. The two hovered together above the lake. He looked around in confusion. "The Yu clan said we were to gather on Lake Center Isle, but I don't see any members of the Yu clan. I watched from farther away for a while. I only saw a few clan heads from smaller families waiting in the sky. What exactly are they doing?" Li Tongya lowered his head and smiled. He glanced around, then pointed toward the large ship in the distance. "Nothing complicated. They're killing a chicken to frighten the monkeys." Lu Sisi stared at the ship. Then he pretended to suddenly understand and laughed with a trace of schadenfreude. "I see. We've disliked these rogue cultivators for some time as well. It's just that there are several qi refining cultivators aboard their ships, so none of the surrounding families wanted to invite trouble. That was the only reason they were allowed to act so freely until now." The two spoke for a few moments. Then the large ship in the distance suddenly raised its sails. A loud shout rang out. Several figures appeared around the vessel, standing in the air and surrounding it from 4 directions. Above them all stood a middle-aged man dressed in black. His hands were clasped behind his back. A vast aura rolled from his body. Lu Sisi counted the figures inside. 9 qi refining cultivators. The Yu clan truly has deep foundations. He lifted his eyes toward the black-robed man. His expression became somewhat absent. That should be the current head of the Yu clan, Yu Xiaoji. He is now a foundation establishment cultivator. He reached qi refining around the same time I did. I dealt with him in those years. He is ruthless, vicious, and deeply calculating. Very difficult to handle." "Oh?" Li Tongya flew closer to the ship alongside him. Lu Sisi continued rambling. "Back then, Yu Xiaoji ranked first among the 5 outstanding talents of the Yu clan. 2 of those 5 later died. The remaining 3 all cultivated to peak qi refining and entered seclusion to attempt foundation establishment. Only he survived the breakthrough. Yu Xiaoji and the others stood above the ship. Everyone below was already growing uneasy. Confusion and fear spread among the rogue cultivators. At last, an elderly rogue cultivator flew upward with an ugly expression. He cupped his hands toward Yu Xiaoji, slapped himself twice across the face, and forced an ingratiating smile. "Ah, Junior greets clan head Yu. We were ignorant and did not understand the rules of the lake. We sailed here and disturbed everyone. Junior feels deeply pained and is willing to compensate all losses. Clan head Yu." The old man was himself at peak qi refining. His true essence was relatively pure. He had clearly not refined completely inferior qi, though it was nothing exceptional either. He was also much older than Yu Xiaoji, yet he still bowed and called him senior. Yu Xiaoji wore a mild, almost friendly expression. He stepped forward. His sleeve slipped back, revealing an arm smooth and pale like polished jade. He merely waved that arm. The old cultivator several zhang away burst apart like an overripe melon. He did not even have time to cry out before his remains crashed onto the deck. Screams erupted below. The qi refining cultivators of the Yu clan immediately rushed forward. Battle broke out across the ship. The surface of the lake heaved violently. From time to time, the aftershocks of spells exploded against the water. The boat carrying the fortunate survivors had not traveled very far. A wave from the battle overturned it. The wounded mortals sank beneath the water without a sound. Just like that, the few who had survived the formation also lost their lives. Just like always. Lu Sisi shook his head. Exactly the same as before. This is Yu Xiaoji's style. He looked at Yu Xiaoji standing with his hands behind his back. The man still appeared to be merely middle-aged. Then Lu Sisi looked down at his own snow-white hair. He did not have many years remaining. For a moment, he was speechless. Li Tongya rubbed his chin as he watched the Yu cultivators. When they had revealed themselves only several zhang from the ship's cabin, they should already have been well within the spiritual senses of the rogue cultivators aboard. Yet no one on the ship had detected them in advance. The Yu clan probably possesses an artifact that conceals presence. The area it covers must be fairly large. It allowed all of them to approach the ship before revealing themselves without alarming the rogue cultivators. By the time Li Tongya finished speaking, the deck had become a scene of bloodshed. Hundreds upon hundreds of mortals were sprawled across the lower decks. Many more jumped into the water and tried to swim toward Lake Center Isle, but they did not understand the formation and had no idea where it was safe to come ashore. The scene only grew more chaotic and bloody. Before long, the rogue cultivator's main ship overturned. A far more luxurious vessel slowly approached from behind Yu Xiaoji. The Yu clan cultivators, still stained with blood, landed aboard. Only then did Yu Xiaoji raise his head and smile. He circulated his spiritual power, sending his voice across the lake. "Clan heads, please come aboard and rest your feet. More than 10 breaths passed before figures began descending from the distance. They landed on the ship one after another and gathered around the Yu clan cultivators, exchanging smiling greetings. Lu Sisi and Li Tongya also descended. Their spiritual senses swept across the vessel. 2 rows of stone tables had already been prepared on deck. Yu Xiaoji sat at the head drinking wine. Young Master Yu Mugao came forward to receive them. He cupped his hands toward Li Tongya and did not even spare Lu Sisi a glance. Senior Tongya arrived early. I hope we did not keep you waiting too long. Not at all, Li Tongya replied politely. Rather, I had the opportunity to witness the impressive style of your esteemed clan head. At the head of the gathering, Yu Xiaoji immediately raised his eyes. He set down his wine cup and narrowed his gaze at Li Tongya, his thoughts unreadable. The two exchanged a few more courtesies. Soon, all the surrounding families had arrived. Among the clans around Wangyue Lake, only 2 possessed Foundation establishment cultivators. One was the Yu clan on the eastern shore. The other was the Fei clan on the northern shore. The Li clan's seat had been deliberately arranged beside Yu Xiaoji. Directly opposite sat the Fei clan. The positioning was conspicuous. Li Tongya frowned, seeing Yu Xiaoji staring at him. However, he could only take the assigned seat. The head of the Fei clan sat opposite. He too was a Foundation establishment cultivator. Dressed in elegant brocade robes, he carried himself with an easy, refined air and looked much younger than Yu Xiaoji. He smiled toward Li Tongya. Li Tongya merely glanced at him. Seeing the faintly expectant look in the man's eyes, Li Tongya gave an almost imperceptible nod. Both men were already thinking along similar lines. Yu Xiaoji saw that everyone had arrived. He nodded, rose to his feet, and smiled. Everyone, by coming here today, you have given face to the Yu clan. Xiaoji thanks you all. The clan heads below hurriedly stood and said they did not dare accept such thanks. Yu Xiaoji waved them down. Ever since the immortal manor withdrew from the world, Wangyue Lake has been divided between Qingchi Sect and Qingchi Sect. The two sides have clashed constantly. The lake has never known true peace. Great and small families have risen and fallen here for more than 300 years. All of us have endured enough of this chaos. Lu Sisi listened from below and nearly laughed in anger. Every family was doing perfectly well. Who asked your Yu clan to climb onto everyone's head? You certainly make it sound noble. Outwardly, however, he replied respectfully. Clan head Yu speaks wisely. Exactly. Yu Xiaoji nodded. He glanced at Li Tongya, who remained silent beside him, then looked toward the brocade-robed middle-aged man opposite, who was staring down at his wine cup. Fortunately, Qingchi Sect has withdrawn and Qingchi Sect has advanced north. At last, the whole of Wangyue Lake has come beneath a single power. The chaotic days are finally ending. My son entered Yuanwu Peak and personally petitioned the Peak Lord. The matter was reported upward, and the whole of Wangyue Lake has now been designated as an independent administrative territory, separated from Xianxia Commandery. My Yu clan will organize 12 towns into a new commandery. It will be called Milan Commandery. From now on, when your families submit tribute, there is no need to travel all the way to Xianxia Commandery. You may simply deliver it here, to our Milan Commandery. The moment he finished speaking, the gathering erupted. Expressions changed across the deck. The clan heads leaned toward one another and began whispering. Li Tongya gave a faint nod. At last, he understood where the Yu clan's confidence had come from. 2 Foundation establishment cultivators in one family. A disciple established on Wanwu Peak. Authority over an independent commandery. And now, with the old Wangyue Lake Market destroyed, they intend to rebuild it and control the flow of goods between all the surrounding families. Heavenly timing and geographical advantage are both on the Yu clan's side. If everything succeeds, the Yu clan truly could establish itself as the undisputed hegemon of Wangyue Lake. Still, Yu Xiaoji is ruthless, but he also gambles too heavily. He is far too impatient. Trying to seize direct control of all these families by force may end up producing the opposite result. Li Tongya's gaze drifted toward the Fei clan head. The man's expression had turned ugly. The white-robed, brocade-clad cultivator held his cup tightly and looked toward Li Tongya with a frown. The two had never met before. They did not even know each other's names. Yet because of the Yu clan's aggressive rise, they suddenly had much in common. The gathering fell silent. Even those clan heads who had been whispering shut their mouths. Everyone understood one simple truth. To oppose the Yu clan openly here was to court death. Who would dare speak? Yu Xiaoji gave a cold laugh. Well, what do all of you think? He had expected this reaction. In truth, he did not care about most of the families present. His attention rested only on those with connections inside the sect. Seeing both the Li and Fei clans remain silent, he finally called out. Lu Sisi, what does your Lu clan think? Lu Sisi froze. A bitter smile spread across his aged face. He rose slowly. He understood exactly what Yu Xiaoji was doing, but fear of retaliation forced him to speak. Naturally, it would be good for the Yu clan to take the lead. His voice weakened near the end. He could not bring himself to say more. Yu Xiaoji swept a cold gaze over the gathering, then he smiled again. If no one objects, then the matter of the market is settled. When the time comes, I hope everyone will support it. Li Tongya sneered inwardly. Flying to Lixia Commandery only takes a few hours. Qi refining cultivators will hardly care about losing a few hours. This Yu clan market will attract little more than a handful of embryonic breath families. For the next several decades, I doubt it will generate much profit at all. Even so, worry was written across the faces of the surrounding clan heads. Against the Yu clan's strength, none of them had much choice. The banquet sank into a tense silence. Li Tongya lowered his eyes toward the wine and delicacies before him. He did not touch any of it. Then a middle-aged member of the Yu clan stepped forward. He cupped his hands. I have heard that the head of the Li clan possesses exceptional swordsmanship. I also cultivate the sword. I would like to exchange a few moves with clan head Li and ask for your guidance. Li Tongya lowered his head and sighed. His spiritual sense swept over the man. 6th level of Qi refining. So it has finally come, they still want to test me. Every gaze immediately turned toward Li Tongya. Ever since Qingwei sword immortal Li Chijing had unleashed Yuegang's sword intent at Yishan City and defeated Qiju Yun, the fame of the Lijing Li clan had spread throughout the commandery. Every family wanted to know exactly what kind of sword inheritance the Li clan possessed. The Yu clan's challenge suited everyone's curiosity perfectly. The atmosphere shifted. Even the Fei clan head raised his eyes to watch. Under everyone's attention, Li Tongya merely smiled. He had no desire whatsoever to display himself. I do not know where fellow Taoist heard such rumors. Tongya would not dare claim such skill. The deck immediately went cold. The middle-aged Yu cultivator clenched his teeth. A man who carries a sword should never retreat. Brother Tongya shrinks back before even drawing yours. Is this the manner of the Li clan? Yu Xiaoji lifted a hand to stop him. Then he raised his wine cup and smiled. Little friend Tongya, please give our Yu clan a little face. With matters pushed this far, Li Tongya could only rise. He stepped down from the left side of the deck and landed in the open space at the center. He cupped his hands. Li Tongya of the Lijing Li clan, Yu Mujian of the Yu clan of the Junlin region. Yu Mujian answered coldly. He drew his sword. Dense sword light immediately surged toward Li Tongya's face. Li Tongya swept the attack with his spiritual sense and instantly knew that the man's swordsmanship posed no real threat. However, the sword in Yu Mujian's hand gave him a strange sense of familiarity. He quietly took note of it. Li Tongya drew his own sword and blocked. He did not counterattack. Each time Yu Mujian's sword chi arrived, Li Tongya merely dissolved it with a light movement. Yu Mujian attacked more than 10 times. More than half the forms in his sword routine had already been used. Yet he still could not force Li Tongya to move even a single step. His expression gradually turned ugly. The surrounding clan heads watched intently. Li Tongya's feet remained planted in the same place. No matter how Yu Mujian's attacks crashed down like wind and rain, Li Tongya neutralized every strike. Murmurs of admiration spread around the deck. Li Tongya's swordsmanship is clearly on a much higher level. Yu Mujian is far behind him, as expected of the family of a sword immortal. Yu Mujian's expression grew uglier by the moment. The smile on Yu Xiaoji's face also gradually faded. He watched coldly and thought, such refined sword forms, and his foundation is incredibly stable. The Li clan really does possess a proper sword inheritance. At the very least, it must be 3rd grade or higher. Yu Mujian glared at Li Tongya. His left hand formed a seal while his right tightened around the sword. A hazy layer of white light immediately spread across the blade. Filled with sharp cutting force, he swung again. That's the Yu clan sword art! Someone below cried out. A trace of pride appeared on Yu Mujian's face. His sword became much slower than before, but every strike now carried crushing weight and force. He pressed forward relentlessly. Several exchanges passed. Yu Mujian's composure began to break. Li Tongya still stood exactly where he had been. Sword in hand, he calmly dissolved every attack. The head of the Fei clan even let out a quiet, mocking laugh. Yu Xiaoji's anger immediately rose. Li Tongya, is this all you know how to do? Yu Mujian had become thoroughly humiliated. He shouted without thinking. Looks like that Qingwei sword immortal of yours is nothing but a fool who knows how to defend. The moment the words left his mouth, the expressions of the surrounding clan heads changed. The Fei clan head nearly laughed aloud. Yu Xiaoji's face changed dramatically. Idiot! Shut your mouth! For the first time, Li Tongya's expression shifted. His brows drew together. A trace of anger flashed in his eyes. He knocked Yu Mujian's attack aside with one sword stroke. Then he turned his wrist and sheathed the blade. In the very next instant, he drew again. A brilliant white arc of sword light surged outward and shot directly toward Yu Mujian's face. Show mercy! The moment the dazzling sword light appeared, Yu Xiaoji stepped forward. Yu Mujian had been caught completely off guard. He thrust his sword 3 times in rapid succession. Before that Yugong sword arc, however, those attacks were no stronger than grass before a scythe. His face went pale. He retreated 1 step. Bloodshed seemed inevitable. Then a hand smooth and pale as white jade appeared in front of him. Yu Xiaoji caught the white sword arc directly. His left hand tightened. With raw force, he crushed the sword light into scattered sharp qi. Only then did he withdraw his hand. His expression was ugly as he dragged Yu Mujian backward. Is the Qingwei sword immortal someone you can insult whenever you please? Apologize. Yu Mujian stammered several words. He clenched his teeth hard, then finally forced himself to speak. I spoke without restraint and offended the sword immortal. Please forgive me. Yu Xiaoji was furious and anxious at the same time. Not only had his side lost the exchange, now they had also been forced to apologize. Rage churned inside his chest. Outwardly, however, he smiled. I failed to discipline this child properly and allowed him to offend Senior Chijing. Brother Tongya, please forgive us. If punishment is required, the Yu clan will accept it. His smile remained on his face, but inside he was grinding his teeth. Useless brat. You've made your father lose face as well. Thank heavens Mugao actually has a brain. Otherwise, who knows what would become of the Yu clan in the future. Li Tongya lowered his head and smiled. He bent down and picked up Yu Mujian's sword from the deck. Then he looked toward the man. To cultivate the sword is not necessarily to pursue nothing but sharpness. Yu Mujian raised his head, visibly unconvinced. Li Tongya's expression turned serious. The faster one advances without restraint, the faster one may be forced backward. A swordsman should already understand the consequence before the blade ever leaves its sheath. If you can truly understand those words, your sword path may still advance another step. Clan head Yu said you should be punished. Then leave this sword with me for now. When you can control the sharpness in your body, freely releasing it when needed, and withdrawing it when needed, come to Mount Lijing and take your sword back. Yu Mujian's entire body trembled. He stared at Li Tongya with a complicated expression. Yu Xiaoji also gave a slight nod and finally relaxed. Li Tongya had given both sides a graceful path down. What had begun as a challenge between peers had now been reframed as a junior seeking guidance from a senior. It preserved more than enough face for the Yu clan. Thank you, senior. Yu Mujian nodded blankly, emotions tangled across his face. The surrounding clan heads leaned toward one another and whispered. Someone praised aloud. Senior Tongya truly has admirable bearing. Li Tongya was only 45 this year. He was younger than most of the cultivators present, yet reaching the 5th level of qi refining at his age was already outstanding. Even Lu Sisi at 187 years old was only at the 7th level of qi refining. Thus, many of those present naturally addressed Li Tongya as senior. Li Tongya cupped his hands toward the assembled clan heads. Then he smoothly sheathed his sword and returned to his seat. Yu Xiaoji's expression had eased slightly. He nodded. The Li clan's swordsmanship truly may be the finest around Wangyue Lake. It is far superior to that of our Yu clan. At least today, this junior has broadened his horizons. With those words, Yu Xiaoji neatly attributed the difference to the Li clan possessing superior sword techniques rather than admitting that Yu cultivators themselves were inferior. Li Tongya merely smiled and let him speak. If anything, Li Tongya wished he could appear even more modest. The more attention the surrounding clans gave to the Yu and Fei families instead of the Li clan, the better. Lu Sisi will not live many more years. The An clan has been allied with the Lu clan for generations. But once Lu Sisi dies, the relationship and balance among the 3 families will be shattered in an instant. That will be the Li clan's opportunity. Until then, the calmer the situation remains, the better. There is no need to complicate matters. The Yu clan had achieved its purpose. They had also tested the depth of Li Tongya's swordsmanship. Yu Xiaoji waved a hand and soon found an excuse to end the banquet. The surrounding clan heads left one after another. Li Tongya deliberately avoided Lu Sisi and returned toward the southern shore alone. He rode the wind over the clear lake. As he flew, he quietly considered everything that had happened. Yu Xiaoji is a foundation establishment cultivator, ruthless and reckless. Now that the Yu clan has someone inside Qingchi Sect, they have gained even more momentum. They will be difficult to deal with. And Yu Mugao, that one is vicious but cautious. He may be even harder to handle than his father. The future will not be easy. Li Tongya continued south for a while before descending onto a small island. He waited there for several dozen breaths. As expected, a middle-aged man in white brocade robes soon approached from the distance and landed gracefully on the island. He was relaxed, elegant, and refined. It was the head of the Fei clan. Brother Tongya, what a coincidence. I am Fei Wangbai of the Fei clan. I have long admired your name. Fei Wangbai looked to be in his 40s, but in truth he was already more than 100 years old. The jade ornaments at his waist chimed softly. He studied Li Tongya. Seeing that the man before him was steady, restrained, and apparently reliable, his smile grew gentler. I have also heard much of Senior Fei's name. Li Tongya cupped his hands. Senior is too polite. Li Tongya did not dare casually allow a foundation establishment cultivator to address him as an equal. He quickly continued calling Fei Wangbai senior. Seeing this, Fei Wangbai stroked his beard and laughed. Aside from one elderly rogue cultivator on the western shore, there are only 3 Foundation establishment cultivators around the lake. The Yu clan has 2. Yu Xiaoji is at early Foundation's establishment, while the White Jade Hand Yu Yufeng is at late Foundation establishment. As for me, I am merely an insignificant cultivator. I only reached Foundation establishment 20 years ago. How could I deserve to be called your senior? The meaning behind Fei Wangbai's words was obvious. Both men understood it perfectly. Seeing Li Tongya smile, Fei Wangbai continued. Among the younger generation of the Yu clan, Yu Mujian is courageous and values loyalty. He reached key refining at 40. Yu Mugao, meanwhile, is quick-witted and cold-blooded. None of them are fools. It truly makes families like ours envious. Junior understands. Li Tongya nodded. After thinking for a breath, he shifted the subject. Senior, in your opinion, with Guli Road in such chaos at present, will the Yu clan's market truly be able to open smoothly? Fei Wangbai shook his head and smiled. That will not be easy. I have a Foundation establishment friend in the commandery. I heard that a band of raiders has recently slipped onto Guli Road. If Yu Yufeng personally remains at the market, then there should be no problem. But if some matter draws Yu Yufeng away… Fei Wangbai's smile deepened slightly. Then I fear an accident may occur. Li Tongya's thoughts immediately became clear. He finally understood what Fei Wangbai and the others were planning. However, he had no intention of becoming directly involved. Afraid Fei Wangbai might misunderstand his position, Li Tongya quickly said, "It is unfortunate that Junior's swordsmanship is rather conspicuous. If I became involved, I fear I might attract unnecessary resentment. Otherwise, Junior would have liked to join the effort and lend a hand. That will not be necessary." Fei Wangbai laughed. Li Tongya had said he would like to lend a hand, yet had deliberately avoided saying whether he meant helping the Yu clan or helping the raiders. That alone was enough for Fei Wangbai to understand that the Li clan did not oppose what was about to happen. He nodded. The Yu clan is at the height of its momentum. If none of the surrounding families can produce another Foundation establishment cultivator, then over the next 100 years, I fear they will be swallowed piece by piece until nothing remains. The Li clan has a sword immortal protecting it, so the Yu clan does not dare reach toward your territory. But the world is unpredictable. You should still remember the principle that when the lips are gone, the teeth grow cold. Li Tongya cupped his hands. This time, he no longer concealed his position. There will be many opportunities for our 2 clans to cooperate in the future. The Li clan lies to the south, while the Fei clan lies to the north. By geography alone, we are natural allies. Tongya is not so short-sighted that he would sit by and watch the Yu clan expand without limit. The 2 men looked at one another and smiled. Then they exchanged farewells and returned to their respective homes.